Welcome back to another edition of Tech Talk Tuesdays. I'm Zach.
And I'm Dalton.
And we are going to get into our news, a tech tip, and then we're going to talk about general cooling for computers. Friday, Apple released another urgent patch, otherwise known as an update for iOS devices. This patch fixes a possible serious security vulnerability. The vulnerability was in Safari's WebKit component. WebKit was processing maliciously developed web content, leaving the potential for cross-site scripting attacks. Cross-site scripting is a type of internet attack in which attackers inject their own code into a website that others use and see in the hopes that that code will then get executed on those other users' computers.
It is under speculation that Apple's smartwatch may be getting more resistant variant. Such a watch would be marketed towards athletes and active customers. It's rumored to have impact-resistant glass similar to Casio's G-Shock line. It's rubber exterior instead of steel, aluminum, or titanium casing.
Facebook announced a plan in partnership with Google to better connect Singapore, Indonesia, and North America. They aim to increase internet capacity between the regions, and they plan to run 2 undersea cables to the South Asian islands. They are hoping to have this complete by 2030. I could not imagine running cables under the sea. Sometimes people's attics are enough for me.
All right. Brave web browser is working on their own search engine called Brave Search, specifically marketing this as a replacement for Google's search engine. Brave has been a very strong voice in the battle for internet privacy. The search engine is said to not collect user data and work with an anonymous user model, much like their Brave web browser currently does. Hopefully to launch in the first half of this year, currently has a waiting list that can be signed up for.
Visa just today, so if you're watching this on Monday, has just announced that it now allows the use of cryptocurrency for payments. They currently support USD coin as a stable coin that closely follows the US dollar, and this will use the Ethereum blockchain. I can't wait till they get into Bitcoin.
Right.
For this week's tech tip, we want to encourage all of you guys to try out 2 monitors instead of 1. They're incredibly helpful. Once you start going on 2 monitors, you'll wonder how you ever got by on one monitor.
You'll never go back.
You'll never go back, ever. Nope. You can set them up to where that the extra monitor is either on the left or the right. If you're cool, you put it on the right, right?
I guess.
But yes, try 2 monitors out. So now we'll get into our talk on different ways you can cool a computer. We will start off with traditional air cooling. What most people probably think of is, the CPU cooler. So these right here, these are the typical fans that you see in a computer. We got one right here, one right here. This is the CPU cooler, and then this is the general case fan. This is actually an exhaust, so it's taking the heat back out. So there's 2 different kinds. Intel makes their own, and AMD makes their own. Right here, this is an Intel cooler. It has 4 prongs on the bottom that after you put a back plate on the motherboard, it clips down. And then AMD's here is more of a latching system where you clip this here and then you lock it down with this here. There's also third-party CPU coolers, which you can see right here, that work incredibly well in comparison to these. They can even get close if they're good enough to the water cooling standards that we'll get into a little bit over here. So as far as general case cooling goes, and not specifically for the CPU, like I said, on one of these Dell's HPs, you got one here. Sometimes there isn't any at all, but we'll take a look at this one now. And you can see that there's 3 up front here. There's 1 in the back, so these are actually pulling the air in. The back one's pushing it out, and then sometimes people will put fans up here. You can get as crazy as you want with them. This has RGB. His has RGB. You can put as many as, or more, depending on the size of the case, but on these, you can get up to 6, so with the addition of the 2 up here.
So next we'll talk about fan stations for laptops. Laptops often run hot because of their compact size. They have smaller fans, and sometimes they just don't get the job done. Some higher-end laptops come with more than 1 fan. For those still having heating problems, fan stations are made to help with cooling, which we have right here. So you would turn this on and just set your laptop on there. There's 6 fans in here that spin. It's got some cool RGB on it. It'll help keep your laptop a little bit cooler.
So if you just get a basic model laptop, this is the only fan that comes in it. Pretty small, so you can see why laptops are known for overheating if you get going on them. Some of the higher end gaming laptops will have more than one fan, of course, but still it cannot be enough. So that's
They still get hot.
Right. That's when we would recommend one of these right here. This one actually has RGB on it. It's not on right now, so you can't see it. But I mean, you can get plain ones and you can get super fancy ones like this. So getting into the water cooling side of cooling your computer down, we have all-in-one coolers, which is what this is right here. We have two fans, two normal fans like you would put into here. That's what these are. They connect onto a radiator here, which also has the water in it, and then it pumps with these to this block that goes on top of the CPU. These are, technically they're custom, but they're less custom than the loops that we get into over here. These are out of the box, ready to go, to have installed. All you have to, out of the box, for the most part, in comparison to further stuff that you can do to it, you have to connect the fans, like I said, and then put this on the motherboard. But as a unit, the water's already inside of it. You don't have to put it in there. These are very popular because they're easy to install, and you get the additional benefits of, for the most part, what you would see over here, unless you wanted to cool your GPU with liquid too. GPU all-in-ones are less common than the CPUs, but are still an option if you wanted to liquid cool your GPU with an all-in-one.
Next, we're going to talk about this beast right here. It's a custom looped gaming computer. It's much more complex than one of these or any of these other options we have. It's very aesthetic, and it also keeps your temperatures very low. I think the GPU usually runs around 30, and the CPU in the high 30s, which is really, really low. All this tubing is all hand bent. There's a pump in this reservoir which sends the liquid into the GPU. It comes out, comes up here to a radiator, then it comes out of the radiator, goes into the CPU, and then it comes out here and then goes back into it comes out here and goes back into another radiator back here, and then comes back into the reservoir, and it's just a continuous cycle. And the big radiators really help with bringing the temperatures down. This is also the most expensive option, but it is really cool. It's really cool to do.
Unless you get super crazy with it, yeah, which we can get into in here just a moment. Yeah, this is what you're looking at for probably the more expensive side. To bend the tubes, are they plastic?
They're acrylic, and so you have to buy all the tools for it to bend the tubing. So there's like little angles, and you have to have a heat gun, and pretty much you heat the tubing and then bend it on these angles so you get a perfect 90 degree or perfect 45 degree angle, whatever angle you need for that piece of tubing. It's all done by hand.
As you can see, they can be RGB. You can get fittings which connect your tubes, or the tubes to the components that they connect to. You can get those in RGB, or you can get them plain. You can put clear liquid in there, or you can put, like he has, dyed liquid. I don't know if that's what you call it.
Yeah, pretty
colored
much.
liquid.
Yeah. And it's deionized water, so it isn't conductive. And it's really good for just keeping higher end, more powerful components cool.
And they look crazy too. They look good. Of course, there's increased maintenance with that in comparison to your all-in-one. If you want to change any components out on that, you got to drain it. You got to drain the whole system, and then you can get to work on what you need to work on. With this, there's no draining involved in it. You just unplug it. So the next thing you can do is connect an external chiller. So this is, in a sense, like an air conditioning unit, and we don't have one here to show you, an air conditioning unit that connects to your computer. They connect by tubes to the radiators, and they are for extremely high-end computers that are always working, or even servers that get really hot. They really keep the temperature down. Some people connect these to the computer in addition to the water cooling if they really want to get their temperatures down. But most people, unless you have the money, wouldn't do that.
The next thing, which I didn't hear of until today, was a mineral bath, and it looks like a fish tank more than a computer. The case is filled with mineral oil, which doesn't conduct electricity like water does, and doesn't short out the components. It's pretty much only for looks, and there's lots of maintenance and extremely difficult to exchange parts.
And of course, we don't have one of those here on display for you, but we will drop a link in the description along with everything else here. There will be links for, but we'll have an image of that for you guys to check out. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Tech Talk. We'll catch you in the next one.